el libro pasado.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another amazing episode of Mario Nawfall and the Round Table Spaces. It's been kind of an interesting, rather slow day in the world of crypto. I did see that the United States kind of moved about 10,000 Bitcoin around in their wallet, so definitely going to keep an eye on that one. But Travis, it's good to share the stage with you because I'm curious. What do you have your eye on, my friend? What are you paying attention to on this amazing Wednesday?
Well, you know what? I think, first of all, great to see you. Great to see so many friendly faces joining the group here today. This will be an interesting space. Yeah, I've been sort of researching personally around real world assets, and as traditional financial instruments become security tokens, right? And they start tokenizing revenue into distributions. I think that we're a ways away from that, but I think that's probably where it's headed because I'm working out the tokenomics on what I want to do on my project, and I don't want it to be like everybody else has done, and I don't want it to be a sort of a shit coin that pumps and then dumps and then like, hey, that was great few minutes there. So it's a matter of creating long term wealth and creating the right sort of tokenomics so everybody wins. And I think that security tokens probably will play into it with the real world asset stuff later on. But that's just kind of what I've been focusing on over the llast week or so. And I was really diving in on it today. But it is interesting that you're talking about the U.S. government moving 10,000 Silk Road Bitcoin worth, $590 million over to Coinbase Prime. That's not great. Trump says, do not sell your Bitcoin. What are they going to do? Liquidate all their Bitcoin in case Trump gets elected?
You hope it doesn't come to that. Could you imagine that it just like there's this level of pettiness that if there's just this crazy subtle acknowledgement that they feel he's going to win, that they're just going to just liquidate it? Like, could you or not? I mean, they're not going to liquidate all 200,000 Bitcoin. Um, but dude, what weird altered state reality are we living in right now?
Yeah. Well, I
Like,
remember back in the day, Tim Draper was able just to go into auctions and get those bitcoins at a much cheaper price than the retail price at the time. So that was a little bit weird. That's how he was able to stack so many sats so fat. Dude, Tim, he stacked that shit for sure. And I don't know why they're trying to sell it at this kind of price. It's always weird when you see the U.S. government sort of dumping this kind of thing because I've always I kind of always have a stink eye on crypto in the way that, you know, Bitcoin, if you look at what Satoshi Nakamoto means in Japanese, Satoshi, I think, means intelligence, or it breaks it down. And the other one is like centralized. And you're like, wait, did the CIA and the NSA create Bitcoin? Like, if so, then we're all being caught up in a big rug, probably. Hopefully that's not the case, but I wouldn't put it past. I mean, I read that document, How to Make a Mint, How to Make a Mint. The NSA created a document back in 1996. And
okay.
so, they had their hands in a lot of that stuff. And so I always I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. But then again, I always just have a little bit of like, oh man, is this a big rug we're just waiting for? I don't know. It's just always wild to think about.
I mean, you know what? Like, that's an interesting thing. Dave, what's going on, man?
Well, two things. One is a question, and it's a genuine question because we went through this, the day after the BTC 2024 speech that Trump made, 30,000 coins got transferred to Coinbase. I asked the question that I'm about to ask, then I've yet to see an answer. Does anybody have direct knowledge of whether those coins were actually sold, or just like these coins, were these coins sold or being sold? Because they have a department that we know the DOJ has a contract with Coinbase to provide custodial services. And for all we know, they're merely executing on their contract, and that has nothing to do with it. It's just a question of, instead of holding it in their own wallets where the world can watch them, they wanted to put it someplace else where maybe they could sell at a later date or maybe not. But we have no idea. Because if the answer is they're selling, then I think all of this crypto for Harris stuff evaporates almost immediately because of the pettiness and all the reasons you just said. But my guess is they probably aren't, which is why it's actually humorous to watch
Mm.
people selling the market, dropping it because, oh, look, the federal government's going to sell. It's like, guys, it's low liquidity, August, summertime, and anybody who wants to push the market around can do it unless unless there a buyer shows up and says, you know what, give me some of that tasty sub 60,000 Bitcoin and buy it all. In which case, then the guys who shorted it, when they go to cover, get crushed. And we don't know if that's going to happen. We don't. My guess is probably likely as we get closer and closer to Labor Day and markets start to normalize. But it's an important question. So that's the thing. And I'd love to hear anyone on the panel if they know the answer.
Yeah. Well, we see the block, right? We see it's block 856763. We see where it was from and where it was to. So we can look at that to address maybe and see. One thing that gets me is like they literally sent 10,000 Bitcoin and then it took 0.0000546 Bitcoin as the fee. And then there's another little fee in there of 59 cents. So literally so total fees of 92 cents on that. And could you imagine though, $593 million? Like, how tight would your sphincter be clenching when you're sending 10,000 Bitcoin somewhere? Like, I double check. Like, I don't even know how. I wouldn't even send 10,000 Bitcoin at once. I'd be like, I'm gonna send one Bitcoin to test, and then maybe I'll send 1,000. I mean, I just have a hard time. I would have a
No,
hard time sending a $500 million at once.
It's
Click.
so
yeah,
good.
well, it's like at the end of the day, the beauty of computers, if you do the same thing, it's right. I'm sure they did test to an address, and I'm sure then
Yep,
they sent the real amount. But
I got you. You just
as
know
I said,
that
I think
clench, sphincter clench is real when it comes to crypto.
this should be noise. I mean, I can't remember Mike Alfred. He had a great quote. I have to find it. But it's like if this is what you're selling based off of, you don't deserve the sats that you had, something like that. And it's like I hate to get look, I'm an old TradFi guy who's kind of a zealot convert, but that's that. The point of this space though, which I'm gonna shut up and let you talk about. I really think that people need to understand the real world assets and what does it mean. And I'll start with this prompt for the panel. everything that's being done now is like early stages. We're talking early stage venture relative to what's going to come. The big play, the big play is that I've been saying this for 6.5 years, so this is nothing new to anyone who's ever talked to me. That trillions, all equities, all bonds will eventually trade tokenized, and you leverage the market structure that's being developed for crypto, which includes DeFi. And there's all sorts of good reasons why that is true. And it will ultimately work that way in a much more efficient manner. And so there's a lot to be done there. And that's really where the political battle is happening. And I'll stop there and let other people comment on that. But I think that that's kind of important to keep your eye on the ball. It's not really, yeah, okay, we can prove that real tokenization works because some ski mountain or ski resort gets tokenized. The real issue is right now, if you want to buy Tesla stock and you're not sitting in the United States, you have to pay banks a shit ton of money to buy global depository receipts in your own currency, etc. And God forbid you want to buy a small cap United States stock, you can't. If you're in the U.S. and you want to try to buy a small cap or mid cap stock from anywhere in Asia or Europe, you more or less can't, or you go into the gray market and you pay 10 or 15%. All of that's going to change when there are platforms that can list the same asset in every currency that matters, and it's fungible between them, and that is where it's going. So let's not
Amen.
take our eye off the ball.
Yeah, I mean that's great because the market doesn't need to sleep, right? We're a 24-hour global market when it comes to crypto. The stocks don't need to stop at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock Eastern or whatever. That just makes no sense. And so now the
Well, they
technology's
do,
caught up.
but Travis, they do, because
Yeah,
every stock when you buy stock in Schwab, and I repeat this a lot, but I want us to be clear. Why do I think this? My first job was in 55 Water Street, downtown, working in the operations center for Morgan Stanley. In the basement, the sub basement of 55 Water, DTCC has their vaults. And in those vaults, presumably, are paper stock certificates that they own. And then they basically have ledgers in their databases that say, okay, this amount of this company is for this broker, this for this broker, and this for this broker. And the brokers themselves have who the beneficial owners are that they hold for the benefit of. That's why the word use of beneficial owner. The reason that the markets close is because if they didn't, they can't run batch processes to settle up all those trades. Now they recently did this Herculean effort, and it went off without a hitch. It was great. Several $billion to be able to go to T+1, meaning that when you buy a share of stock, those ledgers all get updated between the brokers most of the time the next day. Obviously, in crypto, they're updated as soon as you want them to be updated, right? If you trade on a centralized exchange and request a withdrawal, it happens almost immediately, right? If you don't request a withdrawal, just like in the Coinbase Prime case with the DOJ, you don't know. It's held in a commingled account somewhere where they actually have the ledger. And so, the technology is far superior for crypto because of blockchain is actually purpose built for that. Well, it isn't purpose built for it, but it is a perfect use case for it. And that's why it's such a big difference. But keep it very, very clear, this beneficial owner process, this whole using paper securities, is a lot of the reason why certain things are the way they are, such as the way the when you go to borrow a security, you do something called a locate. You say, okay, I've secured myself the ability to borrow, but you don't pay anything until you actually borrow it. And then if you don't sell it or you buy it back before then, a borrow never happened. Well, what does this mean? Well, this means that you can sell short substantially more of a stock than exists and then cover it before settlement. And so you see all sorts of stuff that goes on there. That can't happen in a world where you actually have to borrow when you want to sell, which is the case in crypto. Anyway, I've talked way too much, but there's a lot there.
I mean, that's all good stuff. I mean, honestly, you know, where I'm at, a little bit over my head, but it makes sense. It makes sense. I don't, Travis, are you like, is this kind of more in your wheelhouse? Like, are you, when we're talking about trading crypto 24 hours, I mean, that part makes sense. And the tokenization of assets and
hmm
things like that. I guess, um,
Well, I'd say this, I mean, Larry Fink of BlackRock said that, that's where they're moving it. And so I'm not a big fan of BlackRock, but I would say when those idiots say something, they probably mean it at least most of the time, right? I mean, how many ridiculous, what they got 300,000 Bitcoin now or something, BlackRock, and they're saying that the tokenization of everything else is coming and that's a what ridiculous amount of trillions of dollars when we're talking about all of those things. And think about tokenizing and when we're talking about real world assets, like all the real estate in the world. I mean, all the stuff. I mean, it's going there. And right now, most people focus on the meme coins because it's funny and it's haha and it's a culture coin type of a thing.
I'm a huge fan of BlackRock. I love BlackRock.
Okay, you're a big fan of it? Okay, great.
Yeah. To be honest with you, yeah, I love BlackRock. Their covered call ETFs absolutely print. Obviously, what they're doing in the real estate market isn't necessarily nice, but we do live in a capitalist society, and I'm happy with how the ETFs are printing.
Well, there's certain elements that you can like, but BlackRock, for me personally, BlackRock from a political standpoint and how they run stuff and who they work for, not awesome because they control everything, dude. A little slight movement and boom, they're the ones that can take it out and funk it on the table anytime. They rule it at this point. And
I think you guys need to understand one thing about BlackRock, which is there are two things actually. The reason BlackRock is the world's largest asset manager is because they and Vanguard, I know they're kind of the arch enemy, made investing dramatically cheaper for people. And when you may give something, it's like they are to financial markets what Costco and Walmart are to retail shopping. And yes, they have more upscale products and they've done that, but their core index funds dramatically lowered the barrier for individuals, small funds, RIAs, etc., to be able to offer lower cost investing to allow the average person to participate in the equity market returns over years. So
Absolutely.
if you
CII
don't
trading currently at
understand that, then
$18.
and you just look at it as an evil empire because they got big. I mean, sure, they got big because they did a great job. They didn't get big because they greased people's palms. Now that is different.
Well, they don't have to grease the people's palms when when the Rothschild family's running things behind the scenes, and so I think it depends on
BlackRock.
Well, Vanguard it's trillions of dollars, and really when you think about what's being managed behind the scenes, we don't even really know.
I really want to push back. And
hey, you already said it. You love BlackRock. That's great.
No, I don't love anybody. I spent most of my career.
No, I said I love BlackRock.
I spent 10 years at Morgan Stanley, 14 years at Solomon Brothers through Citigroup before I went to Two Sigma, which became big but was small when I joined there. And then I went into crypto 7+ years ago. The truth is that the big banks are the ones, the cartel part. They're the prime brokers and the cartelized ones. And there are lots of conspiracy theories that are, whether it's the Bilderberg stuff or the Rothschilds, it doesn't matter. There's at least plausibility in those. The big index funds are very, very different. Just because they have a lot of assets doesn't mean their businesses are integrated. If you remember that Rolling Stone article from last decade, that I forgot who wrote it, calling Goldman Sachs the vampire squid, and it went through all the businesses they did. You can't find that about BlackRock. It's just not the same thing. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying pick on the people where it's more right. That's all.
I got you. You just hit an amazing point too, and you're talking about those central banks and some of those bigger banks. I found this was interesting. There was news today that popped out that central banks in Switzerland and Norway are buying significant amounts of MicroStrategy. Right. So they're saying that. So Norwegian Central Bank, they acquired like 1.1 million shares of MicroStrategy. Swiss National Bank purchased 450,000 shares of MicroStrategy. So that's kind of like an indirect investment in Bitcoin, really. And it's actually trending over on the side on Twitter here. That's crazy.
What do you think the methodology in something like that is, right? Because it's, why MicroStrategy and not Bitcoin? Right. I mean, I guess maybe I'm not familiar with the other regulations. Go ahead.
I'm assuming regulations and compliance would probably be one of the major ones. Plus, it's probably easier for them to offload it through their channels, having certain accessibility to global markets or capital markets versus maybe crypto markets. And now I'm not an expert in the European jurisdictions, nor am I really have any solid level of understanding, but I would assume it's a hedge as well as a proxy trade for them. And you know what? That's not so terrible because it's appreciated at 100 times the level of the US dollar has over the last couple of years, if not thousands of times, right? So if you're a country and you're hedging, and I think it would be good for, for your balance of small percentage of, I guess, your foreign currency.
That's an interesting take on there. So essentially micro strategy, investing in micro strategy is more of the above board, um, you know,
But
investment
if
into
but
Bitcoin.
if you're in South America and you're in El Salvador, you don't have compliance and you don't maybe have a European Union breathing down your neck, so you just go buy Bitcoin on the open market like Bukele has been doing. And since he started buying on the open market, I'm pretty sure his average is in the profit now. So as a reserve currency for his country, he's been able to have a greater return than the US dollar as a reserve in this case.
Very interesting. It's quite an interesting topic of conversation. I think, let me ask this, since we're on the topic of BlackRock and these massive conglomerates getting into Bitcoin, um, if that with their positioning and the role that they play in global politics and US politics, how come we haven't seen the Harris administration say anything about crypto given their involvement? Like, we know that they're, playing both sides of the political fence. What, to me, that just seems odd. We have too large of players in the crypto space now that we didn't have 4 years ago. It seems odd that both parties, obviously Trump and their camp has said things. How come Harris hasn't come out and said something a little bit
Well,
more poignant?
that answer is easy. It's the what will she say when she finally does. The reason she
Mm,
hasn't is because the Bitcoin and crypto is antithetical to pure government control, and for her entire adult life has been spent on increasing government control and power. Every vote she cast in the Senate, every vote she cast as the president pro tem of the Senate, every policy that she's touted along has been in lockstep with Elizabeth Warren, who recognizes Bitcoin as a threat to dollar hegemony in the long run and her ability to print infinitely. And so that's been the core. Now, the well, wait a minute. If the genie's out of the bottle and 50 million or 60 million Americans own Bitcoin, we have these Bitcoin ETFs, and BlackRock is promoting it and Fidelity is promoting it, it's a political loser to cede the ground. So she's trying to figure out some sort of compromise, which is another way of saying what's the smallest amount they can do to de-energize the crypto vote against them, that and get away with what they're doing, and get away with increasing government control and all things. I mean, and we're not just talking about Bitcoin here, because
hmm
Caitlin Long had a really great point, a little while ago. I just retweeted it, which is that Europe figured it out correctly, but the U.S. is wrong on the notion of something as simple as stablecoins. So the U.S., the stablecoin legislation that the government seems to want to pass, a lot of people want to pass, would require every stablecoin issuer to be a bank, because that'll be safer. Except, as Caitlin points out, that's exactly the opposite of the truth. It's not just wrong. Wrong is one thing, but when you say it's literally the polar opposite, because our banking system is fractional reserve banking, which means that you're going to have entities that do not have to have fully reserved assets backing stablecoins, as opposed to a stablecoin issuer like Circle or Tether, which claims and should be surveilled to make sure it's true, that has the better part of 100% of the assets backing the stablecoin in short-term, immediately liquid instruments. And so the actual government approach, which they're doing it, would be less safe. Now, why would they do that? Well, that's also obvious. The same people who want to do that because they know banks are under the thumb of the OCC, the Federal Reserve, in some cases the SEC if they offer those sorts of products, etc., as well as other money, as other and FinCEN. And so they have all these regulators that can put pressure on banks to do what they want them to do, and so they like that. And so it really is about that. So there's a lot going on to unpack here. But I always say, I haven't publicly talked about who I'm voting for because, frankly, I want to see. It's too early, right?
hmm
It's still a coin flip race. There's lots of things, but I'm going to vote for the candidate that proposes less government control and more and as well, mixed off with whatever social policies, is I'm fairly left on social policies and fairly conservative in economic policies, which puts me dead in the center. I don't know what the hell I am, but we don't know. But that's the reason. I mean, now the what she will do, I have no idea.
It's that part is an interesting thing, and I think what's interesting is that because Trump has become so outspoken for the crypto vote, I would, and then this is just me, maybe tin hat, is that I think that the more they become emboldened on the fact that they feel like they're going to win, they might never say anything. And I think that's, because this has been largely partisan with regard to the stance, is I feel as though right now, when you look at the momentum of the campaign and everything, why does she have to say anything? I don't think it really matters at this point. And it's going to be one of those, 11th hour sort of decisions that's like, you know what, hey, we need to say something about the crypto vote because we need to move micro percentage points in certain swing states. That's, to me, that's how I'm viewing it right now. Maybe I'm off base in that. I think
I
you're
think you're exactly right, and it saddens me to no end that they're seen to be employing the Biden in the basement strategy with Kamala. We'll see. There's the convention coming up, and they're going to have a platform, and we'll see. But it is
I
sad
think
that
I
you
think
could win by not by saying nothing. That bothers me.
No, all you got to do is just make AI images and videos of have huge crowds and stuff, and you're like, "Hey,
I
look
think
at us, we're winning! Look at it!"
powers the powers to be are shaking their head right now. They're not sure if they're meddling with the Kamala U.S. election or the Indian election. So I think they're not sure.
It's a
I mean,
crazy world for sure. So hey, let's talk a bit about the topic at hand: DeFi infrastructure investments. How do you want to handle this, Kyle?
well, I mean, we could toss it over to Purity Sniper because it is, you and I were even talking about this, like DeFi, financial,
Hello.
what's going on? Yeah, so, honestly, I think this is a good space for Travis and I and everyone else because I think we're due for some education, Travis. I think this might be a new rabbit hole that you and I go down. So,
Yeah,
I want to throw it over to the guys at Purity Sniper to kind of learn more about like DeFi infrastructure and everything that goes with it. Obviously, we're familiar with some aspects of it, but tell us more about what you guys got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hello, my name is Essex. I'm from Purity Sniper. I'm the CEO and founder. We are a next generation sniper bot created for traders by traders. In effect, a lot of us are artists, developers, just all around like cool guys, you know what I mean? And a bunch of us in this space came into this space losing a ton of money, like entering into trades, buying a Pico top, getting destroyed by snipers. And for a lot of us that are just like artists and not necessarily like long term crypto participants, having the awareness that these tools exist is almost non existent. I think it was probably the 30th or 40th launch I was doing art design creative direction for. They got completely decimated before I found out, like, oh hey, so the LPs that you guys are pitching in on, there's some guy in the background using this tool called a sniper bot to sell all your tokens out from underneath you. And so that begat the sort of journey to discover what that was, through Maestro and then eventually Banana Gun and
yeah. That
yeah, you
happens
know
to
what I
a lot
mean?
of people
And
too. So like if you
yeah.
just click the wrong thing in the wrong place, like so I host a podcast called Bad Crypto, and Joel Comm is my co-host there, and he was in I think it was his he had the end. I think maybe it was his Pudgy Penguin. It was something, but they finally they got access to the admin account. I don't know if it was Pudgy Penguins. It was one of the big ones, and then they literally booted him out of the Discord. And then they said, "Hey, whoops, we accidentally." And then was DMing him, sent him a link, and then they said, "Hey, you need to get back in here to verify you have it." And dude, he almost clicked that thing. And it's like if he had clicked it, then it's going to be a bot that's going to snipe all of his things, all of his crypto out of that wallet. Like pretty.
Yeah. So yeah, and unfortunately there's a lot of that in this space, and so for us, again, moving what we would like to considers like the ethical kind of side of the space. We're like, all right, how can we take advantage of this technology to benefit the layman trader? Number one. Number two, how can we get this information out to people in a way that is easily digestible, easily understandable? I mean, how many up on the panel have you used like Maestro or Banana Gun?
Oh yeah, I've got Banana Gun up right now.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And so, how long did it take you to actually learn that UI and to understand what was actually happening on chain when you snipe?
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, thankfully, I had other people to kind of walk me through any of the little nuanced questions I had. So,
okay, so you got to lean to your network. So imagine if you were a new adapter that doesn't have the network you have right now.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
What do you think that get? Yeah, it'd be really tough, right? And so there's a small majority of people in the space that are even familiar with how these tools operate. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring to the market a product that we could use that's easily digestible. Not only that, that's highly effective. And not only that, that's experiential outside of the, I guess, crypto traditional like norms. You know what I mean? Like instead of, I guess, leaning into the current meta, we would depart and create more engaging experiences in the tangible, in the real world, which will only help convert people to kind of want to participate in the space and feel safe in the space and feel heard in the space and feel like they have a community to turn to where if they do need information, if they aren't familiar with something, then they have access to that. So that's kind of the log line that we have as to what we're doing over here.
Interesting. So, like, where are you guys at in terms of your development?
Oh, our beta is going live this week, buddy. This thing is fast. This thing is sleek. It's beautiful. I believe you posted our launch trailer up in the space. If anybody here would like to go take a look at that. And more than anything, it's pure. It's simple. It's not a lot of bloat and a lot of instruction as to how it actually works and operates. And on top of that, like we're able to build a piece of tech that's just highly performant, man. This thing is fast. We're out here trying to gamify and like revolutionize this shit, man. It's not as simple to just like, extract value from the community or from the culture with like high fee product, the referral links, all this sort of stuff. Like we're just going to keep it really simple, effective, and fun.
So I have a quick question. You said the word fees, and that catches my spidey senses. Can you just elaborate a little bit on like maybe what the fees are in the industry and what differentiates?
Yeah, actually, the fee in the industry, and you can, if you're familiar with Dune, you can go ahead and do the research on here to kind of verify this. But fees vary anywhere from 0.5 to like 4.5% on all individual trades. Some of them collect more. Some of them have had like token launches that have been backed, and also snipe the shit. There's a lot of like, I guess, like money making practices in the space of sniping, behind the scenes, and even the bots, like tipping fees. I'm not sure how familiar all of you are with the sniping process, but even in like, tip mining and things like that, we kind of wanted to just approach this from the point of view of like, hey, I want to be able to do this, but it shouldn't cost me an arm and a leg. And so for us, we just offer like a 1% fee on all trades, like, and that's it, like nothing else. I mean, you can tip for gas fees, but it's not necessary because our sniper is designed to hit that zero block without necessarily needing to bid. And so it's kind of like a free PvP for those initial snipers. It just really depends on who gets in the order block first.
Mm-hmm. And just to follow up with that, I know you mentioned the words like gamify. So like I recently I come on the show here all the time, and K2 hosts my demise. I've been rugged a couple of times on multiple meme coins. So when you say the word gamify, are you saying like, in the sense of the meme markets, it's usually like a PvP. You're going up against a pool of other people that are trading the exact same instrument or token. Does your sniper, I guess, offer a UI or something competitive to make this interactive or maybe an easier process so that I don't feel like I'm getting rugged or I have an easier chance of survival or maybe
absolutely. If you've ever like seen even like the Maestro interface or like Pepe Soul Boost, shout out Pepe, I love that bot, by the way. like for a first time user, they're really, really confusing. And the way we designed our UI, first of all, on the teller interface, is just really straightforward and simple. Like there's only so many like different functions that traders will have access to unless you do a deep dive into advanced menus. So that way it's like set up and ready to go right from the start. That means like you know we're automatically setting your slippage for you. Like there's other sort of parameters that you don't necessarily have to know how they work in order for them to be set appropriately for you right out the gate. Again, making it super easy.
So let me ask this. So is this mainly for meme coins? Are you guys doing trading arbitrage on all types of projects? Is that what your goal is? Or is right now, is it just certain
No. This is
category of
just
coin?
this is mostly at the current iteration directed towards the meme coin market. Our TAM is currently like $10 billion a day in meme coins, as I'm sure some of you guys are familiar. And so, like for us, it doesn't necessarily to make sense to venture into NFTs or leverage trading or any other sort of stuff. Again, like in line with who we are as a company, just
Right.
pure sniping, man. Like hitting that zero block.
I got you, because it sounded like when you read in the bio, it sounds like, hey, we're a bunch of artists and we're and that's, and I was like, okay, so you guys doing digital asset stuff as well? So is it that was,
We're actually
that,
doing tangible assets. So I'm actually glad that you bring that up. I don't want to give too much information, but part of our whole marketing perspective and our initiatives behind the brand is that we're really going to work hard to, I guess, reinvent how the art world perceives crypto. Like as it is right now, like when people think of NFTs, like everybody here has been rugged on NFTs, facts, right? Um, and the outside world doesn't necessarily enjoy or appreciate our JPEGs the way that we do. And so for us, we felt like a really sort of positive focused way that we could maneuver would be to introduce sort of tangible art experiences. Like imagine going to an immersive gallery centered around the Purity Sniper experience. Again, I don't want to give up too much information, but that's something that's not only educational, tangible, and also creates discourse and dialogue to help reinvent that narrative around art and crypto. So I'm glad that you asked that. One of to give a small example of something, imagine walking into an exhibition and all around you are 20-foot tall sniper rifles. And in the middle of the room is one laid on the floor with a scope that you can look through that's tracking every single individual transaction as it happens on chain. Or even better, imagine every single transaction that happens through the sniper bot, right? Obviously, taking that visual, but then think about what that can do for discourse for us. Think about what that can do for discourse for new adapters. You know what I mean? Like we're paving a new way in order to invite people into this space that might not necessarily have considered it in the first place or looked at it like it was a scam or a rug or some other shit like that,
right. I want to ask this then. So I think that there might be some people here, sniping is a term that some degens know, some don't. And you're saying you want to get right in on that zero block. So how are you determining, I guess, with your sniping tools, which ones are coming up or when they're coming up? How do you determine which ones are any good? Because anybody can create a
Okay.
meme coin in seconds at this
Yeah,
point. So
so
how do we
yeah,
know it's good?
exactly. Well, here, actually, that's a great question. So a lot of this has to do with not even sniping, but just in your communities, right? Like part of this space that's so beautiful is the fact that there are multitudes of communities that are like really strong and supportive of each other in education. Shout out like Ramilia, shout out Milady. And when you see these small groups of people get together and they share information, you'll find that a lot of times there is positive alpha there, right? And so one of the other things that we really want to encourage outside of even using our bot is for people to do their due diligence and to participate in communities where people are informed and knowledgeable of the space. In fact, like we have a few friends that are sitting in the space right now who are avid devs and that send tokens pretty consistently but are not negative EV on the communities, and the structure and how they put these launches together are like wildly effective, number one. Number two, they end up establishing these very broad and brilliant communities where then again somebody else gets inspired and says, okay, I want to do this too, how can I do this? And then they have the support from those around them. So it really is on the end user. And again, like I said, something that I want people to do is to, you know, focus on like establishing these connections with people around you that are of positive EV to help them avoid all the bullshit and the scams.
That makes sense. So how you keep talking about like the artist aspect about this, like was this
Yeah,
just like to me, I'm like an artist and trade, like obviously they're not mutually exclusive, right? But I like it keeps
yeah.
coming up, so I guess kind of like how does that play into the overall ether that is Purity Sniper?
Oh, excellent, excellent. So, for starters, I grew up in a Wall Street family. My dad's a State Street guy. Myself, I was an Army Ranger for 8 years. Was sadly um, forced out due to an accident in Afghanistan. Got out, wasn't really sure what to do with my life, and so, long story short, found a path of solace through art. And as of right now, I have a few music projects that are doing very well. For a little while, we ran an art gallery in Seattle, um, and so for me, and having survived the things that I've survived, being able to support the things that I want to do in life and be able to create in a capacity that I want to be able to create, and also offer this experience for other people to participate in too, I think is immensely valuable, right? Like, because again, if I was waging 9 to 5 in a space that I absolutely like despise compared to when I can spend my time, you know, making the things that I enjoy making and have the capital to be able to support it, well, then that's kind of like living the dream, is it not? Right? Like,
Yeah, I mean I would agree.
yeah, you know. So for us as artists, right, like and having learned all the things that we've learned and having experienced all the things we've experienced in this space, getting rugged, getting sniped out from underneath us, you know, what better way to control our sort of destiny, if you will? Like it's almost like mandate of heaven, right? Like we're setting ourselves up for long-term success. Like everybody in the community, not just the founders of Purity, but you know, all of us that even participate, right? In order to just further our own lives and our own sort of goals and aspirations.
I have a question around the sniping bot because one, it's like it's a fascinating thing because I know I've gone on Dex Screener and Dex Tools and I'll be like, oh, this one looks nice, and then I want to go and buy, but you can't
Mm-hmm.
even get it on, like a lot of times you're on a Solana, you can't even get that on Radium or Jupiter or
Mm-hmm.
any of those other ones. Like you have to use some sort of a bot, and really my
Mm-hmm.
experience with sniping has pretty much exclusively on eBay. Like I'll do those auction snipes,
Oh
dude. Like that last
yeah, that's awesome that you
microsecond,
even know
dude.
of that, bro.
Boom.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Listen, that's actually part of what inspired this, right?
For
Is
real?
having yeah, no, because I had a buddy that did the same thing with Chrome Hearts pieces and PS5s when they first came out.
Oh yeah.
Um, and Jordan Retro Force. And so there, and I know that, in considering that you actually understand that world, I know that you know the other side of like eBay selling and like sniping and returns and things like that as it exists there. And so, do you see exactly like what this offers to people? You know what I mean? Like it's you're getting access to liquidity at its lowest possible price. So you know,
Right.
$4,000 or $5,000 market caps. And that's the
Yeah.
beauty of sniping. Because here's the thing: when you buy something at $100,000 market cap, you got to understand that obviously, you know, it can go up and it can go down, right? Buying something at $100,000 market cap is not sniping. Also, I just want to make sure people understand that when you're hitting that zero block $4,500 project, you know, market cap project, the reality is that if you, and I only want to speak like to ethical traders because there is an alternative side to this behavior with sniping, as a lot of us have experienced, right? But like if you focus on the ethical side of it, like you really can't lose money if you set your sniper up effectively, right? You come into any volume at all and you're already hitting a multiplier, and if you start DCAing out appropriately from that position, like you really can't like lose money. You lose money
Now, is
when you
that
buy.
auto selling for you along the way? You're setting it
Yeah,
up
you
and saying,
can. Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. You can
if it goes
set.
to like 2x, sell 20%. If I go when it goes to 5x, sell another half. Or you're kind of
Yes.
programmatically setting it up.
Yeah, and our bot has a stop gain function built into it.
Dude, you're like the supreme meme degen snipe daddy over there.
Hey, man, we're trying, right? Like we're doing our best here. We're doing our best here, and we also have another
You should
function.
change your Twitter handle to Alpha Snipe Daddy. That's it. It's perfect.
It's well, we do have an alpha channel on the way. So I would say if you want to participate, if you want to learn, if you want to, ride the wave, hit the socials, you know what to do. But we have another function I think you might find really interesting too. And some of the other bots offer it. But ours, I think, we provide a little bit of an edge. So it's a mirror function to basically mirror anybody else's trades. But we also include a function where you can analyze a wallet to see if that's even a wallet you would want to mirror the trades on. It'll print down a PNG or a CSV, your choice, of that wallet's overall performance. And so again, we're trying to provide tools like, and not just like bloat features, because there's so much just bullshit bloat features on these bots that nobody needs. But traders are like, oh yeah, this is a good thing, right? I can set every single function, like, okay, but for what, right? You know what I mean? Like, why not provide a tool that actually like does something for somebody and allows for them to make more informed decisions? And again, if you want to mirror trades, like boom, you set it up, you set your gas priority fees, and you lock in. Bada bing, out the door.
Now, are you able to see historical data on other traders who are using your bot, even if it's anonymized, to be able to go, oh, look, this dude has gone up, 13,000x on his snipes. And like, oh man, I might want to
Yeah.
pay attention to what this dude's doing.
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, we plan on gamifying that too by allowing traders to print down P&L like scorecards almost. Like as you've seen the trailer, right? It's starting to feel a little bit like a video game. Well, think about like, the leaderboards. Think about some of the other things that we could possibly introduce to you. I don't want to give away too much, but I'm sure you can use your imagination. That again, if we're talking about creating something that is entirely experiential, above and beyond anything else that exists in the market right now, well, again, think about what that could be as we move forward with this. So even just with the P&L scorecards, and obviously on the back end, we can track that data. But on the front end, if users want to see it, like it can exist in that sort of like PNG print down format of like, hey, I hit a 13,000x on this one. Look at this. I'm ranked number XYZ, on the board. And I think that also incentivizes like people like us that are real degens to be like, okay, I got to get my bags up. Let's go. Like when you see that, it's aspirational.
Yeah, having some gamification to it, I think, is important. I'm looking at this like this seems like straight up gambling. Right?
Well,
I
it
mean,
is.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it is. It is. It absolutely is.
But
It very much so is. Like,
but when you walk into the casino, they give you a manual on how to play roulette and another one on how to play blackjack. When you walk into the meme market, somebody pulls the LP from under you and you lose all your money in 2 seconds. So,
dude, that's it. So can I? So with my bot, can I? You're so right. Now with your bot, can I say, okay, I only want to trade on these projects that have locked liquidity? And I know that sometimes when people sometimes the contract goes live, and then now they got to lock their liquidity. From what I understand, you can't lock it before, right? So
yeah,
it's
there's
launched.
no
Now you got
way.
to lock your liquidity. So you guys are able to monitor all of those across multiple chains to see which ones are popping off, and then you just making your best guess based on alpha that you're getting, or you just intuition, or just hope and prayers.
No. Again, to go back to the point I made before, like community, right? Getting involved, participating, speaking up, reaching out. Like in the communities that I participate in, and there's a lot of PFPs in this chat, and I know who they are, right? Like everybody supports one another, everybody provides alpha. And sometimes things you can't control the market. So, of course, sometimes things like, don't take off. But that's why it's important to educate people on de risking. Purity as an edge, sniping as an edge is education, it's knowledge, it's knowing what to look for, it's knowing what to avoid, right? I want to use actually an example for of pump.fun. Is everybody here familiar with pump.fun and how that works?
Oh yeah.
Okay, excellent. So there are sniffer tools out right now that will allow for the trader to see if a project has fully developed socials, if it has Telegram stood up, buy bots in place, et cetera, website, and what that website looks like. And there are a lot of traders that are, one, avoiding projects that do not have that sort of information, right? And then there are other traders that, when they do have that information, are immediately kind of like trying to jump in and select those projects, right? So effectively, that tool is doing what our communities do innately. Excuse me, there are conversations that are had, there are memes that are spread, there are group chats like where you'll find this information readily available, right? For people, from people that want to share it with you, but it takes participating. It takes you reaching out. It takes you finding this. And again, like, that's the edge. And that's what we're bringing to people. We're teaching people. We're sharing the lore. That's what's going to allow for people to avoid getting fucked over. That right there is community entirely. Like, it's not just as simple to be like, I'm going to rely on a tool. Because again, with the pump.fund sniffers, they work great. Can you still get wrecked? Hell yeah, you can. Absolutely. But again, when you de-risk and you enter into a position at its lowest possible market cap, it can't go any lower than that. And so let me give you an example. There's plenty of people in this chat, and please react to this. If you've turned $50 into $10,000 before because you got a good entry, and I would like for some of you to maybe scroll down a little bit, because I'm sure you'd see people react to that. Lots of people have. It's an easy lick if you have a good setup sniper, But
I don't know
again,
how many times I've turned $50 into $0.
I've
yeah,
turned
me too. Me and
$10,000
I'm
into
I'm
zero.
really
I was
good at
just about
that.
to
In fact,
say.
yeah, but that's the thing. If you had access to a tool and education that could help you better manage, one, the project that you participate with, and number two, learning how to de-risk and also scale out of positions in time. That's another thing too. And I just want to say something, guys. Taking profit is not a bad thing. Anytime somebody tells you not to take profit is because they want to dump on your head. Listen to me when I say this. All right, riding a bag to zero is nonsensical when you can sell a little bit of your bag, and those add up over time. Like, you hit a major lick, you're up, 100x to it, whatever, right? Sell 50% of your bag, boys, ladies. Sell 50% of your bag, let the rest ride. Understand, greed is the vibe killer in this
Mhm.
space. Greed is the vibe killer in this space. Learning when enough is enough is going to get you so much farther than you trying to hit 100x on every single project. Even if you only hit a 2x, two soul gains in
Yeah.
a day.
Well, I always
Like,
try to get my initial investment at least out if I'm playing
yeah,
this crypto roulette, right?
yeah,
Which is
exactly.
kind of what it is. But I have a question around this, because I think this might be interesting, because like you mentioned, like, oh, sniping at 100,000, that's not a thing. Sniping when it's 5,000, that's a thing. Now,
Yeah.
are these sniper bots maybe prohibiting certain meme coins from hitting those higher targets because they're all using it and they're all selling along the way and getting out? Or like,
Yeah. No, listen, there are a lot of projects, that go through that. Hyped launches in particular, especially because there's a lot of sniper bots out there that you can just be aware of the ticker, plug it in, and then just decimate a chart. And that was the other side of this space, the
yeah,
non-ethical
that's the
side.
bad
So
part
if
of
you
it.
guys, yeah, so let's talk about the bad part real quick. Let's talk about the bad part. There's also a lot of teams take advantage of this technology that when they launch, they'll snipe up 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% of supply, and then introduce the projects to their communities. And then as soon as they get volume, they rug. Sahil, anyone? Sahil, paging Sahil.
Oh man, careful, he might come out. If you say his name 3 times and spin around, you get jizz.
Yeah, he might pop out, right? And so there is a lot of negative EV use cases for a sniper. But the reality is, and I want to share an anecdote with you guys, is that I firmly believe that those bad players are an absolute necessity to the space. And here's why. My life would be significantly different than what it is right now if it wasn't for working for that dev that rugged the shit out of me a number of times. The new music project that I just started in 1 month has surpassed a music project I've been running for 4 years. Okay, right? Like, there's a number of tangible, like, things that just need to exist in this space for it to be effective, right? Like, you cannot have good without the bad. And so, as dangerous as these tools are, again, that's why you don't overexpose yourself. Okay, you can avoid getting decimated on these projects by not overexpose yourself. A good rule of thumb that I follow is no more than 10 to 20% of my sort of like trading portfolio at a time in any given trade. And in fact, on Solana, I limit that to one sold per trade period.
I mean, that's smart because basically there's a 99.9% likelihood that you're going to get blasted on Sol.
Exactly. And so why even run into that when you can just be more disciplined with how you buy in? I have plenty of friends that'll ape 50, 60 Sol shit, and you're like, bro, like at $500,000 market cap, and you got like destroyed because you bought the Pico top. Like, come on. Like, there's better, like, again, and that's part of the education that we need to provide. But if you don't get rugged, like, are you really ever going to go educate yourself further to become profitable? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Dude,
exactly.
it's part of that emotional thing, right? You get so attached to some coins. Like, I'm like, man, I mean, regardless, I'm going to hold on to my Bitcoin. Like, I don't want to sell my Bitcoin.
That too. Another gem. Let me drop this. Stop marrying these projects, right? Like it's one thing. Like, okay, so there's two sides of this psychology. Number one are the insiders who are aware of the narratives they're constructing for you, the end user, to participate in. And then the other side is the end user who leans into the psyop because they think it's reality. And so you need to learn to identify the difference between the two and maneuver as such, with that information in mind, however you want to participate, however you want to participate. But also, the most profitable that I've personally been, and also my trader friends in this space right now, have been by being disciplined, by scaling out appropriately, by being kind to charts, and just by overall like being disciplined. If you can do that effectively, then like Vega here, who's here in this chat, he's one of our beta testers. He's been working on the bot with us for a little while. He's probably one of the best traders that I've met in the market. He turned 400E over in the first iteration of the sort of bot that we were building in a matter of like a couple of months, and again, like not destroying the chart, like being like really chill. So, and he can even attest to the things that I'm saying with this.
Got it. Step one, be disciplined. Okay, I'm going to work on that. I'm gonna work on that.
It really does take, look, it really does take a serious commitment to yourself and a set of rules. If you follow the rules, it works. If you don't, then, well, you're going to get wrecked. And listen, the rules are what you define them as, but set them and follow them. You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense. We're getting close to the end of the time here, and it's honestly, it's been a really, really good conversation. Appreciate everything you're sharing about what's going on at Purity Sniper. Obviously things are early on with you guys, and everyone here is learning about the project. What are one or two action items that we can do kind of in the immediate as a community, everyone following Mario in the roundtable spaces, to help you guys out right now as you guys are, in the early stages of the project?
I would love it and would be so grateful if all of you could just go watch the launch trailer as it's posted on our Twitter page right now. If you like what you see and you've liked what you heard, give us a follow. If you love what you've seen and you love what you've heard, then turn your notifications on because things are about to ramp up really quickly this week.
Awesome. Well, you heard the guys. Go watch their launch trailer. I promise I will watch it afterwards. Right now, it's kind of like it's playing in the background on my monitor, but you know what? I've got things to attend to on this space. But you know what? This has been an amazing space. Dave, AK, DeFi God.
Thank you. Thank you.
The team of Purity Snipers. Travis, it's always amazing to share a space with you, my friend. But before we go, I want to do a real quick pause for station identification. IBC is still one of those active investors in the space right now. So if you are a project that's looking for support, whether it's funding, marketing, or incubation, shoot the Roundtable Space account a message. We would love to help you out. Also, you know what? We are rapidly expanding here at IBC. So we are hiring a community manager as well as a copywriter for to write our newsletter. So if you want to hang out with cool people like Travis, I won't throw myself into there because I'm humbled to share the stage with that man. But if you want to come hang out with us, shoot the Roundtable Spaces as well a message. We would love for you to come join us. My friends, it's been another amazing episode of Mario Nawfal on the Roundtable Spaces. We will see you back here next time with another amazing guest. Thanks.
God bless you.
See you next time with Next Gen Degens.
Yeah.